Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit two or more fictional characters against each other in a battle of strength, or wits, or fabulousness, and see who would win. This week, Derek Zoolander versus Gracie Hart. For weeks now, the United States has been abuzz with talk of the Ascendant, a mysterious terrorist figure responsible for acts of destruction across the country. So far, these attacks haven't resulted in any casualties, but the meticulously penned letters sent to major newspapers promise that these acts of terror will only escalate. Needless to say, the Ascendant case has a lot of eyeballs on it, and everyone has their own guesses as to what the terrorist's next target will be. But there are two women in New York who come to the same conclusion. In FBI headquarters, Special Agent Gracie Hart strings together the first letters of every sentence of the Ascendant's latest correspondence and discovers the seemingly meaningless letters AGMAWPTAIAH. Excited, she takes her find to Supervisor McDonald, telling him that this acronym can only refer to the hottest new challenge-based reality show, America's Got Models, parentheses, and we put them all in a house. That has to be the Ascendant's next target, and given how securely closed the show's set is, the terrorist must be planning on infiltrating the show somehow, maybe even posing as one of the contestants or crew. The show starts filming their new season in just a few days. The FBI needs to send a team to Malibu now to ensure that the Ascendant doesn't manage to pull off whatever dastardly deed he has in mind. McDonald is less convinced. The Ascendant has been hitting national monuments. Why on earth would he attack a cheesy reality show? He urges Hart to look elsewhere, but she's convinced that she's right. Eventually, Hart storms out of McDonald's office, yelling that if the Bureau won't help, then she'll just have to break this case herself, even if she has to enter the show herself as a contestant. She heads back to her desk, booking a flight to Malibu, and reaching out to her old friend, the British beauty pageant coach Victor Melling. She's pretty convinced of her ability to get to the bottom of this case eventually, but she also knows that if she gets eliminated from the competition too early, there's no way she can figure out the Ascendant's plan. Elsewhere in New York, ambitious Time magazine reporter Matilda Jeffries has reached the same conclusion, but her editor dismisses the idea of a reality show being the target of a terrorist attack as unfounded tabloid fodder. Matilda knows she's right, but how can she get to the bottom of it without support from her company? Thus, she turns to her life partner, the world's occasional top male fashion model, Derek Zoolander. She tries to explain the intricacies of tracking a domestic terrorist to him, but when his money-making baby blues glaze over seconds into her explanation, she decides to try a different approach. Remember how you got that career bump after you saved the Malaysian president, she asks? Think of what it would do for you if you saved an entire program dedicated to the modeling industry itself. Some of the finer points of cause and effect are lost on Zoolander, but he understands the gist of it. Enter reality show, succeed at challenges, find bad guy, catch bad guy, look amazing the whole time. Matilda realizes that he can probably take care of the modeling challenges well enough, but she offers to remain on call to help him get over some of the more intellectual hurdles he may run into while tracking down this evildoer. Both Hart and Zoolander are after the Ascendant, and both have help from their advisors. But which one will uncover the terrorist's secret, devious plan, and be crowned modeling champion in the process? I'm not really the guy to ask. My sense of fashion is limited to stuff with comic book characters on it. So I, Dan Mulcairn, will be donning my She-Hulk-themed judge robes this week. I know she's not a judge, but I got the robes on clearance. I'm trying, you guys.
Where did you get them? Where'd you get them on clearance?
We're moving on. Advocating for Derek Zoolander are Liz Logan.
I could dare lick my own balls.
And Kit Mulcairn.
Yeah?
You need to say your stinger.
Wait, where's my stinger?
Oh, it should be in your computer.
It's in my computer. In my computer.
No, Kit, no! Advocating for Gracie Hart are Miles Schneiderman.
This team has two asses.
Sure does. And Colin Mulcairn.
She's beauty and she's grace.
Jesus.
She'll kick you in the face. She'll win the contest and solve the case. While Derek's in last place, don't believe Team Zoolander's lies. Derek's intelligence needs to be at least 3 times this size.
Outstanding. In order to determine who goes first this week, I was inspired by the last time competitive modeling showed up in Smash Fiction, Buffy vs. Blade, so I decided to flip the script and sent the advocates on a little vampire hunt.
Jesus, has it been that long since we did modeling on the show? What is fucking wrong with us, you guys?
Look,
that was
I've
like
been
episode
gone.
12.
It's because I've been gone.
I gave them until sunrise to hunt down and exterminate as many bloodsuckers as they could. Team Zoolander went all out. Leather trench coats, wooden stakes, motorcycles, brooding on gothic rooftops. They stormed the closest, biggest, oldest castle they could find, and by dawn, they had eliminated 12 vampires, an entire vampiric coven reduced to dust. Of course, Team Hart totally noticed the gigantic loophole in the contest rules, found a large pool of stagnant water, and started swatting mosquitoes. They had a kill count of over 200 within the first 10 minutes. For the greater numbers, and the fact that they eliminated a far greater evil from the world, Team Hart will be going first, followed by Team Zoolander.
You know what? You deserve it, guys. Doing
They
God's
sure
work out
do.
there.
I'll take those accolades. I'll take all those accolades.
Okay, we had a much better time in that. That was like my average weekend. So.
Is that where you've been?
Don't ask.
We did have a good old brooding time, I'll say that.
Team Gracie Hart, you think I'm judgy. You want to pander to me. You want to open for me.
Oh man, you have no idea how much I tried to make that work for my opening singer. Good job, Dan.
Gracie Hart has a catchphrase. You might not have caught it because it's not made its way into as many memes as Judge Dredd's more famous, I am the law, but Gracie Hart's catchphrase is, I am the job. Gracie eats, sleeps, and breathes police work. Since the time when she was a little girl and threw her first punch at her first bully, it was clear that she would grow up to be a person who could not stand by as innocence suffered and would never stop until justice was served. She is highly skilled in both criminal profiling and cryptography. Independently of the Bureau, reading case files over dinner, Hart figured out that the letter they received from someone claiming to be the infamous terrorist known as the Citizen had a hidden message in it about an upcoming attack at the Miss United States pageant. Later, once the actual Citizen had been captured, Gracie had noticed that there was still plenty of suspicious activity going on in the pageant and suspected that the person who threatened the pageant might not be the real Citizen and might still be there. The FBI refused to support her and left. Hart stayed behind and continued to work on the case alone and ended up proving the rest of the agency wrong and catching the baddies more or less by herself. In the second film, when Cheryl and Stan went missing, she pursued questioning Cheryl's limo driver, which everyone else thought was a dead end, and found a clue that everyone else missed. She analyzed security camera footage that multiple people in the Bureau had already analyzed and again found another clue that everyone missed. She watched one of the ransom broadcasts and found another clue that everyone missed, all of which led to her in the climax of the film going in again without any agency support, rescuing the hostages and apprehending the bad guys, kicking ass the whole time in a sparkly dress and heels. But perhaps Gracie's most surprising skill is her ability to charm people into lowering their defenses and revealing information through displays of empathy. When attempting to discern whether or not her fellow contestants belonged on her list of potential suspects, she brought them drinks and casually inquired into their pasts. When she needed more information on potential enemies of Stan Fields, she disguised herself as an old woman and infiltrated a nursing home, where she cozied up to Stan's mother and learned about his gambling habits, which ended up being the lead they need to find the culprits.
Of course, finding culprits doesn't mean a whole lot without the ability to subdue and capture culprits, and every spy eventually runs afoul of henchmen trying to thwart your #spy goals, like, say, the villain's creepy son, or sexy evil Mila Jovovich. In the event of such henchmen or any other challenge involving taking a motherfucker down, your best case scenario is being Gracie Hart, who literally never loses a fight. The Miss Congeniality films start with Gracie escaping a man with a knife to her throat before putting him on the ground, move on to Gracie embarrassing a pack of security guards on national television, and wrap up with Gracie looking glam while fucking up Nick Offerman's day. And all of that shit amounts to beating a game on easy mode for an FBI agent whose live-in significant other is kickboxing. In the meantime, Derek Zoolander is over here trying to win confrontations by pulling his underwear out of his pants. I know he's into learning how to do other stuff good too. If he asks nicely, maybe Gracie can teach him to sing. Oh, and if the culprit in question turns out to be a little too dangerous for just fists and feet, I suppose Gracie will just have to pull out one of the 10 million hidden weapons that she keeps in her gown. You know, where no one can see them. Seriously, nobody notices. Not even Michael Caine, whose job is literally to notice things about the way women look in gowns. That is like the platonic ideal of concealed carry.
Now let's talk about Gracie's skills when it comes to winning a beauty pageant. Hart is so good at competing that even after the FBI stopped supporting her and the pageant was no longer being rigged so she couldn't be eliminated, she still got second place in a national beauty pageant, which was, by the way, the first pageant she had ever been in. And after she got makeup training and PR training from Joel and went on a prolonged talk show tour, she got so good at being an FBI spokesperson / beauty icon all the time that it ended up becoming her new default identity. Whereas Victor was only giving her fish, Joel has taught her how to fish, and now she can do the beauty stuff all on her own. Not that she needs to in this match, because she totally has Victor with her, and that man is a master. Seriously, when he first took Hart under his wing, we all know she was pretty frumpy looking, but one waxing montage and slow motion walk to Mustang Sally later, and her transformation into bombshell beauty queen was so completely mind-blowing that when she showed up at the pageant, Kathy Morningside, the pageant director who she had met already, and knew that Gracie was getting a makeover from Victor and coming to the pageant undercover, still saw Gracie and didn't recognize her. And it's not just her appearance that is going to help her win this pageant today, it's her even more beautiful personality. Gracie was consistently captivating, charismatic, and candid to a degree unparalleled by any of the other participants in the Miss United States pageant, many of whom had been preparing their whole lives for this. Her comedy music number where she played the water glasses in a silly dress brought the house down. Later, when the other pageant contestants drank all the water from her glasses moments before she was supposed to perform, she decided at the last minute to change her talent into teaching a woman's self-defense class, which combined education with stand-up comedy bits that totally worked both as a form of entertainment, since she did indeed charm the judges well enough to go into the top 5, and as a piece of education, since in the second film, she is seen receiving fan mail from women who told her that this lesson actually helped protect them from would-be attackers. All of this from a bit that she was making up as she went. If any surprises pop up in the middle of this competition, that means our competitors will have to abandon their old plans and improvise new ones, Gracie will still be very much in her element. Do we even need to compare this to Derek's improvisational skills? Because whenever Derek isn't given a clear enough path to follow, like when he is told that the files he needs are inside of a certain computer, but given no more specific instructions than that, well, we all know how that ended.
Yeah, Derek Zoolander is, okay, this doesn't feel like going after the low-hanging fruit so much as using some kind of complicated pulley system to go down and retrieve fruit from the bottomless depths of hell, but I have to say it at least once. Derek Zoolander is an utter fucking moron whose greatest accomplishment in his own movie is successfully turning left for the first time in his life. He is painfully, cripplingly stupid. Upon seeing and then destroying a scale model of his proposed Derek Zoolander Center for kids who can't read good, he explains himself with the words, "What is this? A center for ants?" And demands that in order to accommodate the size of human students, the center must be made at least 3 times as big. In just a few moments, Derek Zoolander has created a problem where there was none, and then devised a solution that will not actually solve the problem that isn't there. When you factor in the fact that he's often shown to be incapable of accurately processing sensory input, like when he thinks he won the Best Male Model award, or asks the question, "But why male models?" moments after having that same answer thoroughly explained to him, Zoolander has to be considered one of the dumbest film characters of all time, and this is a world in which Brick Tamland is a thing.
I love Lamp!
Also, believe it or not, being dumb is not Zoolander's only fatal flaw. He's also really egotistical. The main inciting incident that sets Derek down a spiral of self-doubt and self-hatred is when he doesn't win an award for Best Model of the Year, an award which he has already won for the past 3 years in a row. This unforgivable injustice leads him to getting in a feud with Hansel for like half the movie for no reason. And before you go on thinking that getting angry like this will motivate Derek or make him better or something, when Derek gets mad, he just gets more inept than usual. Remember that when he tries to regain his #1 spot by challenging Hansel to a walk-off, Derek loses. The minute that Zoolander starts to feel like Hart might be a challenge for him winning the tournament, you know he's gonna go all existential at least for a few days. In the past, he's decided to go be a coal miner, or grow a beard and change his name to Eric Zoolander. Who knows what it's gonna be this time?
Finally, let's consider Zoolander's support network. The one advantage he has over Gracie coming in is his experience and skill at modeling. In order to make up that difference, we have Victor Melling, one of the best and most accomplished pageant coaches in the world, who could probably turn me into a beauty queen if I paid him enough. Why is that funny? Why is that funny, guys?
No, it's just Michael Caine is a comedic genius, you know?
That wasn't a joke. Why is that funny?
Just talking about him is inherently funny.
Oh, okay. All right. Who does Derek have with him to make up for Gracie's advantage in spying, investigation, and simple competence as a result of cognitive brain function? That would be Matilda, who definitely represents an improvement in that she's an investigative journalist who knows how to say the word eulogy, but who won't be nearly as helpful to Zoolander as Vic will be to Gracie. Matilda isn't stupid by any stretch, but she's not exactly Poirot. Her entire investigation into Mugatu relies on anonymous tips from J.P. Pruitt and information dredged up for her by the guy nobody remembers from Starship Troopers, even though he got the same tattoo as 3 of the main characters. Matilda's biggest accomplishment in a figuring things out on her own sense was solving the mystery of Zoolander's week-long disappearance by going to his apartment and knocking on the door. That's the level of reporting I would expect out of Pepper Brooks on the dodgeball circuit. Even if Matilda does learn something important that would help Derek in this match, there's no guarantee whatsoever that he will listen to or understand her, considering he barely comprehends what anyone ever says to him. And lest we forget, this is a woman who, for whatever strength she may have, had a child with Derek Zoolander! Maybe at the time that didn't strike her as proof of her own lack of intelligence, but I feel like she probably started realizing the truth about the same time as the building Derek constructed fell down and killed her.
Too soon. Well done, Team Hart. I haven't heard opening arguments like that since Jurassic Park. Team Zoolander. An advocate's life is a precious, precious commodity. Just because we have chiseled abs and stunning features, it doesn't mean that we, too, can't not die in a freak opening arguments accident.
Oh, no. You know how I do this, so let's begin.
All right.
So glad you're back.
With hair as black as coal, piercing eyes, just overall ridiculously good looks, and a strange affinity for martial arts, we have Derek Zoolander, known for his derelict fashion line and his both attempted and thwarted assassination attempt of the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Armed with an orange mocha frappuccino and hair gel, there's not much Derek Zoolander can't handle, unless it's the temptation of a gasoline fight with her 3 closest friends in which they all die in a fiery death, leaving you hopeless for a brief amount of time. But I mean, if it's not that, yeah, he's unstoppable. He's friends with Swamp Thing, Billy Zane. He got off the Titanic, so he knows how to win, obviously. Who does Miss Congeniality have? A male co-star who's fallen off everyone's radar?
Gracie's gonna wish she stuck to writing books after just the first episode of this reality show, because it's gonna take a lot more than almost being a pageant queen to get far enough in this competition to catch the perp on your own. Derek Zoolander has worked toward being a model since childhood, when he first saw his gorgeous reflection in a spoon. Even a spoon's funhouse mirror effect couldn't destroy his radiant beauty. His God-given gift led him to being named Male Model of the Year 3 times. And I wasn't being hyperbolic about dropping the G-bomb. In Zoolander 2, goddamn this show for making me have to watch that movie. In Zoolander 2, Sting reveals to the Zoolander crew that Derek is descended from Steve, of the biblical Adam and Eve and Steve. Steve is the most beautiful man, and all the greatest male beauties are direct descendants of his. Hashtag sorry not sorry, Colin. Gracie Hart, in comparison, only very recently learned how to fit into feminine standards of beauty. Sure, the movie Miss Congeniality 2 basically assassinated her character by making her insufferably shallow and vain, but she's still a baby in this new world of high fashion. If you don't believe me, look at her clothing choices in that movie. Ugh.
Now you might say, but Zoolander is old news. He lost the fashion awards to Hansel. Where? Well, guess what? Old school and being lame and stupid is in. Zoolander is so hot right now. Some movie producers clearly on something decide to bring him back to save the world again. Too many years later. Ugh. Sorry, Miss Congeniality. You're just irrelevant now and not worth it or capable of saving the world. Gracie Hart's classically beautiful looks just aren't in anymore. She'd stick out like a sore thumb and would attract everyone's attention. Did you see Zoolander's outfits in all of his movies? Come on. Being washed up like Zoolander is in. Even though Zoolander doesn't realize it in the second movie, everyone who runs in him just builds up the mystique of the Zoolander when they see his obvious great style, even though they might not know it yet.
Gracie couldn't even win a pageant, and now she's up against the God-given looks of Derek Zoolander. We got blue steel. You got, what, beige aluminum? The man can smize so fucking fiercely that it stuns people into an inability to do nothing more than gaze in awe. I think I put like way too many negatives in that sentence, but you fucking know what I mean. His jaw-dropping look, Magnum, is so powerful that it literally works like telekinesis, stopping and holding objects thrown in both movies. Zoolander created charisma kinesis. How is that not gonna wow the judges?
And to build off of that, as Kit said, his biggest strengths are his looks. I mean his good looks, but also his actual looks, like Blue Steel, Ferrari, Tigre, and Magnum. So let's put that up against Gracie in a hypothetical situation, who most likely has a gun which she may or may not use. Magnum was shown to be able to stop a shuriken?
It's
A
pronounced
throwing
guitar.
star! Shoryuken! And a bomb. Both flying metal objects. The bomb mostly. You know what else is a flying metal object? A fucking bullet! Derek is the Neo of the modeling world, and Gracie is an agent. How perfect does that work? Get wrecked. And plus, even when he can't channel his looks, thanks to his buddy Hansel, he is able to take various heavy objects to the face when trying to channel his inner Magnum. For example, he takes 2 unidentified flying objects because I seriously could not tell what the fuck was being thrown at his face. That seemed to be a razor, a stapler, I don't know. Maybe it was a bottle of extreme face cream? Could be. He also takes a glass bottle of some kind of wine to the face and a half-full bottle of tequila. He doesn't fall down, doesn't get a black eye, or even a bruise. He may as well be built out of unobtainium. Sorry, not sorry, Miles. Can you imagine Gracie Hart taking this kind of punishment? Not gonna happen. It's easy to draw the conclusion that Gracie Hart's cute little self-defense routine wouldn't even make Zoolander blink. And of course, while he may be a male model, and Gracie Hart may be an FBI agent, their training is ultimately different. Gracie is trained mostly in investigation and self-defense rather than Zoolander, who, by virtue of being a male model, is in tip-top shape, has incredible acrobatic flexibility, and has been conditioned to be a military assassin and use deadly weaponry, which are like his looks and his hands, I guess. When Gracie is confronted head-on with a single Magnum look, she's going to revert back to her original frumpy self, question her entire concept of what it means to be beautiful, and wish that the worst rejection she ever got was when Benjamin Bratt wanted to eat a Snickers bar rather than kiss her. Which honestly is pretty bad rejection already, but don't worry, she's totally used to it.
Remember, this is reality TV, honey. Whether Derek is doing something daring or stupid or both, that's the shit that reality TV judges love. My dude wore all white to a funeral. The tactless things he says and does is reality crack. Love him or hate him, you gonna be thinking about him. Gracie Hart's new pageanty, sterilized face of the FBI demeanor is too safe and boring for TV. Ain't nobody came here to make friends, which is too bad considering how much she relied on her new pageant buddies to give her intel and to help her get as far as she did once the FBI fully abandoned her. Speaking of Miss Hart, how the hell are you going to disguise yourself to not blow this case? Most disguises we see her use don't cover her face at all. The best one she used was an old lady getup, and what? She gonna be bringing Meemaw fierceness to this competition? If Zoolander needed to do some infiltration shit, he can straight up make himself look like a different race with just a little bit of makeup and a wig. Why you do this in multiple movies, Ben Stiller?
Exactly. Gracie Hart is just too recognizable now, and her career as an FBI agent harms her effectiveness. This is already a plot point in the second movie. Whereas Gracie doesn't have a whole lot to be able to disguise herself with, not to mention most of her disguises are in the same vein as classical beauty, Zoolander is able to disguise himself far more easily to catch this criminal off guard. Throughout each Zoolander movie, we see him in an insane variety of outfits. He can grow a beard, dress as a coal miner, wear an outfit that looks like it was dragged through a gutter, dress as a cow centaur. The sky's really the limit. Everything he ends up doing becomes a fashion revelation and impresses everyone. This criminal, and probably everyone else, would probably love to meet Zoolander after he puts on a great catwalk and would think, oh, this incredibly good-looking man wouldn't want to hurt me or screw up my evil plan. In contrast, everyone knows Gracie is an FBI agent. She literally becomes the FBI's press corps by becoming the face of the whole damn agency. No criminal would want to show their face to her, and would be able to track her incredibly easily due to all the people that would constantly recognize her. Due to the nature of the competition, it's not like she could cover her face in a way that would be fashionable for a woman. If there is a talent portion, it would become painfully obvious that she is Gracie Hart. Plus, coupled with Matilda as an advisor, Zoolander would be undefeatable. She's already been shown to be extremely adept at uncovering conspiracies to brainwash models and assassinate prime ministers of Malaysia. You know, something that is extremely stupidly complicated.
Let me just Dan list it for you. First possibility. Gracie's so famous and so bad at disguising herself that she's almost immediately found out by a fan and her cover's blown. Second possibility, Gracie doesn't have what the judges are looking for and is disqualified before she can even begin really gathering clues. Third possibility, although highly unlikely, Gracie somehow makes it into the late stages of the competition, but her lack of any kind of FBI officer backup will leave her floundering in both the investigation and the competition. I'll admit, Derek Zoolander is almost as stupid of an individual as you could possibly get, but he'll be getting direction from Matilda, a woman used to investigating and working around Derek's stupidity, whereas Gracie Hart's help comes in the form of a pageant coach, who is all about grace and class, and not at all about fierceness and daring and undercover cop business. So, anyway you cut it, Gracie's gonna sashay away.
She's set to fail, but don't worry, Zoolander will deliver a yagoogly in honor of her failure.
Team Zoolander, what was that? Opening arguments for ants?
You know it.
All right, well, that does it for the opening arguments. And despite the fact that this is episode 87, I somehow forgot to write a segue taking us from opening arguments into rebuttals. So,
I've got one for you. Do you want one? Here, it's called
yeah.
Now It's Time for Rebuttals.
All right, well, it's
If you want to
crazy.
be a basic bitch about
That's
it, Miles.
crazy.
You can have that one for free.
It just might work. All right, let's try this one out for size. Now it's term for rebate.
Nope, go back.
Okay,
Go
all right,
back.
all right. Now is rebuttal time.
Oh, God, you were close. Go back. Switch a couple of words.
Miles
Try it
can
again.
fix it in post, right? You can just stitch those words together.
No, Dan. Dan's going to do this.
Oh, Dan's
Time
doing this
rebuttal
one?
now is Team
Fine,
Gracie Hart.
that's it. Perfect.
Good
Beautiful.
Team Gracie Hart. I am in a dress, I have gel in my hair, I haven't slept all night, I'm starved, and I'm a judge. Don't mess with me. But you can go ahead and rebut.
The first real quick thing I wanted to say, y'all were talking about how tough Zoolander is, and like how if you beat him up, he doesn't feel it. I just have 3 things to say to you, and here they are right here in order.
Earth to
Does she
Miles?
carry around coal? What is that even supposed to mean?
Yeah, Earth to Miles, we're not going to be in a coal mine.
We might be dressed like a coal miner, but we're not going to be in a coal mine.
Earth to Kit, we knew that.
Earth to Colin, I don't think you did. Because you just said...
Guys,
I mean, clearly
we can't do the entire rebuttals in the form of whatsoever. It's just, we're not at that stage yet.
Okay, you talked about Gracie still being recognizable and that being a hindrance to her. We see that she does get noticed by the housewives like 2 weeks after she was on TV as like this national news story, but she still catches the housewives. And keep in mind that even like just a couple weeks after that, she did infiltrate a drag club, like disguised as a drag performer.
And nobody
recognized her, like when she was in Vegas later, so.
I mean, those are all small situations, though. This is like a nationwide high fashion reality show. Like, all eyes are going to be on this. Considering the FBI has never had like a face for their agency, she is of course going to be recognized, since not only is she the first person to ever do that, but because of how popular she was in all the other competitions she was in.
One thing I want to talk about, you talk about Magnum, like, oh, Magnum, it's this great, really reliable, awesome telekinetic power he has. You remember what happens when he tries to use that at the end against Mugatu's knife? It hits him in the face. He only uses Magnum successfully, like with no problems, that one time at the end of the first movie. Every time he does it in the second movie, it doesn't work, including at the end where he tries to lift the bomb, because he needs help from his son and Hansel and Sting all doing the look together in order to lift that one object at the end.
Yeah, there's no male model Guardians of the Galaxy here to help him grab this particular Infinity Stone.
Thank you for pointing out that he took a knife to the face and was totally fine. Like, it even came out and he wasn't bleeding out and dying, which you would do if you took a knife to the face.
Oh, these movies are so stupid.
They really
And
are.
then they like jumped into lava and had a little victory swim,
Okay,
and they
all right.
survived that somehow.
That's great. You talked a little bit in your presentation about Zoolander possessing talent and being able to do it some part of the talent competition, which, considering pretty much all of his male modeling experience, has trained him to walk to the end of a runway, turn around, not to the left, mind you, and walk back. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do in any talent competition unless it, like, I don't know, orgies? Yeah. That didn't really seem like his doing, though.
Okay.
Like,
He's gonna turn left, first of all.
We're in a high fashion reality show. Zoolander is a highly fashionable male model. Just the fact that he's gonna rip up that catwalk is good enough for him to win any talent competition. People love him. And the fact that he gave himself such a huge wedgie, that's talent enough.
All right, so the one thing I wanted to talk about, you talked about, he's going to be so good at winning this pageant. He's been practicing since childhood. And, Gracie didn't win her pageant. But like we said, all the people that Gracie was competing against were training from childhood and were trying to win. And Gracie wasn't trying to win that pageant. She was trying to investigate people and was just trying to not get eliminated. And she did as much not getting eliminated as you can without winning, which is getting second, which is fine for the purposes of this. I think just like Zoolander, Team Zoolander is confused about what the goal is here. Like, Derek is going to be, of course, way more preoccupied with trying to win than Gracie is, and she's going to actually be focusing on the case where he gets so wrapped up in everything, and she's going to do fine trying to win, because in what way is she, like, not a total awesome outsider badass? You saw how she did in that competition. She's, like, way, like, edgy compared to all the other contestants.
Excuse me, we know what's up in this competition, all right? The FBI basically took her almost all the way to the top. She was guaranteed to get in the top 5, and that's when they abandoned her. And by that point, all of her pageanty friends
I was pretty sure it was before that.
It was the top 10.
Yeah.
Top 10?
She got to the top 5 on her own.
And she got to number 2 on her own. She only got beat by
after her
Cheryl, and
pageanty
Cheryl's
friends helped
adorable.
her.
That's after her leg up, though.
Because she can charm other people in the pageant. We have other people in this competition with us.
Ain't nobody here to make friends, Colin!
But some people in these things are, and Gracie's good at getting other people to side with her and support her because she's just so darn charming. Derek does not make good friends with other people in the modeling agency like Hansel, who he had a feud with.
That is so false. Ballstein loves him. He made friends with his arch enemy, Hansel.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
well, that's because Hansel's been worshiping him since childhood. That's nothing Derek did.
You think fucking Billy Zane is friends with anybody? Besides Zoolander?
Boy, I don't think he doesn't return my
actually
calls anymore.
I don't think that any of us can attempt to guess at what motivates Billy Zane and what's going on in his head, and I don't think that it's fair for you to speculate. Yeah.
If all it took to be a model or a beauty queen or whatever was to be descended from some sort of beauty deity, if that was all it took, being pretty, anyone would fucking do it. There's a shit ton more that goes into this competition, and there's also a shit ton more that goes into actually catching a terrorist, which evidence for that I noticed was a little bit scant in your argument.
I didn't say it at all. I said Zoolander would charm the terrorist because the terrorist would want to meet him because he's so ridiculously good looking and wants to know how he just pulls off his looks.
Gotcha.
All right. That's very impressive. Team Hart, it takes a very secure man to rebut like that. I'm very impressed. Team Zoolander, you're so hot right now.
Damn right. Of course you say, she can dress up as an old lady, blah, 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 it's super effective. But seriously, ask yourself, what the fuck is an old grandma dressed frumpy as fuck gonna be doing at a high fashion reality show, okay? Not to mention, like,
do that same outfit.
It doesn't matter. If it's her most effective disguise, she's gonna do something similar to it. And not to mention, her partner needed to dress as a nurse to even sell it. So that's going to take a ton of time, whereas we always see Zoolander getting ready in like a split second for his disguises. As
all
Kit
he needs is a little bit of makeup and a wig. Like, what you got? What are you going to bring me to?
He's totally credible as a black man. Absolutely.
And even then, like, did you see how fast that model off, happened? Did you see how much David Bowie was like, yes, this is good?
Yeah, fucking David. You got David Bowie? You got David Bowie or Billy Zane, my dude.
You have neither of them,
Tyrese.
so it doesn't matter.
You have Matilda, and that's it. The idea that she would dress up like an old lady, which is apparently what you're arguing, is silly.
But it doesn't matter. Even if
she did,
any of her disguises,
would make it work.
Any of her disguises would take far more time than any of Zoolander's.
Why is Zoolander gonna get into disguise in the first place? He's gonna forget what he's doing there.
He's always reinventing himself. That's like part of his shtick.
Okay, so you're saying his disguises are gonna be designed to win a modeling contest and reinvent himself, not to catch a terrorist.
That's part of catching it, though. No one's gonna know it's like him, or they're gonna be like amazed by him and want to meet him. Zoolander operates outside the box, okay? He does not operate in it. When he does, he breaks computers.
Yes. Yep.
David Bowie is in our hearts. He is with us. He was in our movie, not yours.
And he gave the win to Hansel.
Yeah, that's true. He disqualified Zoolander.
Who was also in Zoolander's heart. And anyway, on Hansel beating Zoolander, thank you for bringing that up again, twice. That Hansel is so hot right now. you think you would have beat him?
I'm not in this match.
Look, I don't know. I didn't hear "No Damn Mustang Sally" when Hansel was coming down the runway, is all I'm saying.
Hansel.
I'm gonna give you that. There's some good music in Miss Congeniality.
Thank you.
We used to own the soundtrack growing up, Dan. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember, sir. I was having some flashbacks to driving around Las Cruces, New Mexico when I was in high school listening to that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Zoolander doesn't have to win a physical fight against this criminal. As I keep saying, Zoolander is really charming too. Like, he's so stupid, like he should alienate like everyone around him, but yet everyone is magnetically attracted to him. He'll just be somewhere and someone will be like, "Oh yeah, that's a sick outfit, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's like old, but like you're really pulling it off." Like, of course this criminal is just gonna be like, "There's no way Zoolander will be trying to stop me." And then he'll say like some offhand comment or like bring Zoolander back to his dressing room and there's going to be a bomb on the table and Zoolander's going to be like, "Oh, what an interesting dinner tray to put your food on." And then like take it and like show his friends. And then suddenly he like takes the bomb out of the place and saves the day.
Okay,
Dies?
look,
No one.
even if somehow Zoolander's charm gets him through this, then that's still the only way he has to win this challenge. When you're talking about spying activities and all this kind of intrigue, you're talking about having multiple ways to defeat the challenge and find your enemy. Fighting is one way to do it. Investigating is another way to do it. Gracie has a ton of different options for this. Zoolander has one, which is, I guess, hope that somebody talks to him because they like his face.
Also, we see when people are actively opposing Zoolander and are wanting to not be caught by him and have a reason to mistrust him, like Mugatu, that they are actually able to manipulate him pretty well, and his charm doesn't necessarily work on them when they're actively opposing him.
Yeah.
But like
Who's
the weird...
actively opposing Zoolander?
This
The person
criminal
he's
who doesn't
trying to
want to
catch.
be caught is going to be actively opposing
Why
him.
would he think
necessarily.
Zoolander's gonna catch him? Remember? He's so stupid, even though
Right, Mugatu
extremely
hated.
effective.
Mugatu straight up hated Zoolander.
And when coupled
saying.
with Matilda, who like leads them to the awesome hand model, David Duchovny, hello, he can do investigation. I also realized I was calling her Miranda before. Her name is fucking Matilda.
Yeah.
So much of your argument rests on this idea that, like, anyone who sees Zoolander is going to instantly, like, fall in love with him and think he's the greatest. What Colin was saying is that Mugatu, when he says, "Does anyone notice that they're all one look?" he proves that even people in the industry are not charmed by Zoolander.
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss.
One guy in the industry.
Yeah, but everyone still loves him, even after he points that out.
All right. Well, this has been a real nail-biting season of America's Got Models, parentheses, and we put them all in a house. But the action going on behind the scenes is even more intense as Zoolander and Hart get closer and closer to finding out who on set is secretly the terrorist known as the Ascendant. One by one, the other models are eliminated, until only our two characters are left. The final day of shooting has arrived, when the winner of the series will be announced. Right when the cameras begin to roll, Zoolander and Hart simultaneously notice something on the clapperboard, which is snapped to start the scene. The chalk handwriting on it exactly matches the meticulous handwriting on the Ascendant's letters. The clapper loader is the Ascendant. Both characters yell for everyone to get down as they race toward the Ascendant, who holds the clapperboard in front of the camera. He turns to face them, grins, and snaps down the clapstick with a sound like a thunderclap. The world seems to disintegrate around the two models. The last thing they see as their vision goes are the words written on the clapperboard, "Lightning Round."
Wow, that was...
Wait.
I
you,
was
Liz.
not prepared for that one. That took a while to get there.
Roundabout
Strap
way.
in, Miles. Zoolander and Hart come to in what looks like a windowless living room. Bookshelves filled with large, colorful hardcovers line the walls. The room is lit with intentionally sparse lighting, creating an otherworldly ambiance. The central object in the room is a long table with chairs lining either side, and one especially prominent chair at the head. The table is covered with hand-drawn maps, miniature figures on round bases, and lots of colorful, strangely shaped dice.
Oh my.
But the two models aren't alone in the room. Seated at the table are two figures. One is young looking and smiles at the two. Glad you could make it, the figure says, stroking a leopard gecko. I'm Addison. That over there is Robert Ertl. Seated across from Addison is a figure which could really only be described as some sort of sandwich elemental. He nods, the head-shaped mound of bread at the top of his body, his eyes, 2 pimento olives on toothpicks, looking excitedly at the newcomers. Sorry for the abrupt transition, Addison continues. Robert and I love to game, but ever since our last GM moved away, we've been deprived. Eventually, we got desperate. Fortunately, as everyone knows, playing Dungeons & Dragons teaches you actual legit black magic. So, we summoned a demon spirit and tasked it with searching the multiverse for the best possible GMs.
And then Jack Chick got very, very mad at us.
Well, he was like, I told you!
Yeah.
Hang on a second, Gracie interrupts. Are we seriously ignoring the fact that your friend is made of bread, cheese, and assorted meats? Oh, that, Addison responds. Robert wanted to make sure the demon was working, so before we wished for a new GM, he decided to test it with a harmless wish. I wish for you to make me a sandwich. This is the result. So, obviously we knew that we had to be careful with the way we phrased our wish. Anyway, the demon decided that the best possible qualities in a GM were creativeness and intelligence, so it decided it needed to find some investigators. But a GM also needs to be open to suggestions and feedback, capable of assuming many different roles depending on the situation, and it doesn't hurt if they're really, really ridiculously good looking, so it decided it also needed to find some models. So it went off to your world, took the form of a terrorist, but didn't kill anyone, we made sure to include that bit in our wish, and he created a mystery that could only be noticed and solved by someone with that exact combination of skills. In other words, the perfect GM.
But why male models?
The sandwich elemental pounds his lettucey fist on the table anxiously. Addison favors him with a sympathetic glance. Sorry, Robert's just kind of eager to get started. Anyway, now that you're here, pitch us your game idea. What sort of game would you like to run? What system is it in? Maybe tell us some of the story elements, characters, and themes you're planning on using. Oh, and don't forget to tell us why you'll be the better GM than your opponent. Team Hart went first in the main round, so Team Zoolander will be going first in the lightning round.
I'm thinking system-wise, the only system that can handle Zoolander's, brilliance. You all think it's stupidity, but really it's just true biblical, deep down in his genes, brilliance. So the system is going to be Fate.
Of course.
Naturally.
I want the title of the game to be The Dungeon Where Everyone Can Model Good If They Try Good and Not Die.
I like it. It's our Tomb of Horrors.
So it's going to be modeled after Derek's life story with his other best friends. And actually, Gracie Hart is playing as well. So they can pick from the characters Rufus, Brent, or Mikas. And
is the treasure at the end orange mocha frappuccino?
Exactly.
Thank
you have to stop periodically at Starbucks.
Why don't any of these characters have a higher intelligence than 3?
That's part of the challenge. So each room they go
That's
in...
called min-maxing, Miles. Come on.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Each room they go in, they have various modeling activities. And this game actually is a little bit different than your typical D&D thing. Because charades is incorporated into it. Also modeling, smizing, walking. So whenever you go into a room, you have to pretend you're in that room and you have to act appropriately, away from the table. Maybe you'll have to do a catwalk. Maybe you'll have to model for a prime minister. Who knows? But you have to act it out.
So you guys are doing a LARP?
Yes.
Okay, a Fate LARP.
We're
okay,
transcending the average thing.
And you better believe you're going to have to do a ton of smize checks. Also, if you ever lose your light, that's a disadvantage.
Does Zoolander make you just roll smize all the time, like people making you roll notice, like GMs who just make you do it all the time, right? Yeah.
It's like reverse perception.
Yeah.
That sounds like something Zoolander would actually say.
I'm even going method
now
with this one, Liz.
But anyways, Zoolander would be a better GM than Gracie just because Zoolander has been in so many more batshit insane scenarios that maybe his life really is like a RPG game gone completely bonkers. Gracie will just be like, oh, my boss gave me this terrible case. How do I get out of it? Oh, my gun jammed. I don't know. She dumb.
She dumb. Very good, Team Zoolander. Team Gracie Hart, it looks like you have initiative.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna step back for a minute and let Colin, the game designer, get his shit out of the way.
All right, so I feel like Gracie, she knows a lot about crime and stuff like that, and so she wants to do some sort of like kind of true crime investigation game, and so she starts looking into the different ones that are options, and she comes across one that's called Haven.
City of Violence?
I was going to pause for longer, but thank you. Sorry. Yes, Haven, City of Violence, which is, for those who don't know, an obscenely, unnecessarily complicated and granular game about crime. But given all of Gracie's experience on the force, she like finds all these inaccuracies in it, and she's like, I really need to like break these rules down and make them more granular to make them make more sense. And she ends up doing like a homebrew hack of Haven and like makes the rule book like twice as long. And it's very complicated labyrinthine rules that she's the only one who understands, of course. She has a few sessions into running the game. She has the realization that actually she's missing out on a good opportunities to teach some valuable skills to the people playing. So she decides to make the system diceless. And instead, in order to pass a check, you need to defeat her in hand-to-hand combat.
Wow, this is some convergent evolution here between your guys' premises.
If you have like a good enough, bonus to your roll, she'll go kind of easy on you.
Okay. Miles?
So, I was going in a different direction, but that's okay. That's why Colin designs games and I don't.
Yes, these are what my games are like.
Yeah, you have to punch Colin to win.
So I was thinking, Gracie, we know that she has significantly more experience, like, playing a role than Zoolander does. Zoolander doesn't play a role. Zoolander just goes out and is his own dumbass idiot self. And, that works for him, except when it doesn't. But Gracie is an undercover operative. She understands taking on a persona. She works in an FBI station where one of the things they do for fun is go to the computer and look at different members of the Force in dresses and other clothes, so she's already got the visualization thing down, alright? She is going to take to role-playing just like a fish to water, and I was thinking, she is an FBI agent, and she kind of likes complicated puzzles that don't always make sense of why they're so complicated, but she likes figuring them out. So I think the perfect system for her is D20 Modern. And, she's going to run like a kind of very realistic police procedural-esque crime game, right? And the thing about this is that, the people who summoned us here are representatives of our Patreon supporters, which means they're fans of the show. If there's one thing we know about fans of the show, it's that they are fucking nerds. And if there's one thing we know about nerds in a D&D setting or a role-playing setting, it's that the girl gets what she wants. In this case, the girl is Gracie, who is the GM, meaning this is going to be the smoothest game ever played, because there ain't going to be no PC backtalk. They're just going to follow the plot hooks and do what they're told. And eventually what's going to happen is the plot culminates at, this modeling competition where this fucking moron named Derek Zoolander gets murdered by the new big bad, which is, a demon or something, and the game transitions as we bring in the urban arcana elements, because Gracie knows how to take a regular thing and then make it instantly more fun, right as it's about to become stale. So now it's fantasy, and then we bring in D20 Future and sci-fi, and the game just goes on and on forever with new permutations brought to you by this brilliant FBI agent mind, which is what these people want.
Also, she does a really good old lady voice whenever they meet an old lady NPC.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, it turns out all of her NPCs are just old ladies.
Yeah, the scariest monster in the game is this weird thing that you know it when it shows up because it sounds like somebody's rubbing their fingers over a water glass.
Oh yeah, secret water glasses underneath the table for atmosphere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a really beautiful match, you guys. Now I need to go make some sense of all this, so I'm gonna go walk the runway for a bit. A room full of strangers taking pictures of me and silently judging me really helps to center myself, so I'll be back in a bit with my decision.
So, yeah.
That was a thing?
Zoolander didn't hold up as well as I, was hoping it would.
Oh my god, I had the exact same experience.
Thank you. What? Yeah, no, I mean, the lines that are stupid funny, are still stupid. They're a little funny. Like, the ants one, for some reason.
The ants one's great. The ants one is great.
Still got me, and I knew it was coming. I actually laughed out loud at that one. But all the other ones, I was just like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, no, it like a lot of the jokes just didn't land the way they did the first time I saw the movie when I was young. I mean, obviously, it came out in like, what, 01?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was really just weird and nonsensical and kind of dumb, and then the orgy made me uncomfortable in ways that it didn't before because they drugged a girl.
I mean, she knew the tea was doing weird shit. He said, just let the tea do whatever the tea do.
Well, yeah, but that was like way after she started drinking the tea.
The first movie still makes me laugh a lot, but when I went to sit down to watch the second one, I could not get past like 15 minutes. And I love the first one. I just couldn't stand it.
I felt like the second one was the same quality, except it did too many callbacks. And from watching Miss Congeniality 2, I think I figured out that the more callbacks a movie does, the shittier it is, and the shittier it knows it is.
Same thing with Anchorman, too. That was terrible.
Oh, really?
The thing that I was going to say about the second one is I think that a lot of the humor, I don't know, it didn't age that well. Like, the style of jokes that they were doing and stuff were kind of outdated.
Yeah.
I feel like they were parodying things that don't really need to be parodied anymore.
They're already dumb.
Like, yeah, it's like, I mean, because did we really need to take down male models again? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of the humor in the new one was kind of in bad taste, I thought. I mean, I don't know, I still thought the first one was mostly okay, but like some of the jokes in the second one were really toned up to our current, like, climate and stuff like that. But anyway.
I don't like Will Ferrell. I'm just going to say it. I really have a hard time with him. I like Miss Congeniality.
Hit or miss.
Oh, Miss Congeniality is fantastic. Will Ferrell plays Will Ferrell. That's basically what he does. Now, like, his delivery, I mean, he's all delivery, his delivery's funny. But, like,
I mean, sure, I don't know.
Miles.
Yeah.
Happy. Happy. Does that help you, Miles?
No, it's really...
Kill the Malaysian Prime Minister!
Don't do it!
All right, well, I have to commend both teams for basically playing in character. Because, Team Gracie was very much approaching it like Gracie Hart. The very investigative, very logical, trying to, delve into these deeper mysteries and dig at, what the truth was and find a way past all these problems. And then Team Zoolander starts talking, and I'm blinded by fabulousness. I feel like if I had thrown a knife at Liz when she started talking, it would have frozen in midair and then just dropped to the ground. This is a ridiculous, ridiculous match. And, it's kind of tricky because Derek Zoolander is kind of a superhuman. And that's a tough act for a normal person to follow. But at the same time, there's a reason why Batman can beat almost everyone in the DC universe despite the fact that he has no powers. And that's because he's extremely smart and competent. We went into this match knowing that Gracie was the kind of second banana when it came to the glam side. But we also knew that Zoolander wasn't up to Gracie's level when it came... I was trying to draw more parallels, but yes, essentially, Zoolander's a dumbass. Gracie's never going to beat him in modeling, but she can at least sort of learn and improvise and use her own natural talent to stay in the game. But, even with Matilda walking him through things, painstakingly slowly, Zoolander is never not a dumbass. And I feel like I have to give it to Gracie Hart for that. Although
Cheers.
It hurts me to say that because
you
Team
made the
Zoolander
right
put up
choice.
such a good, hilarious argument.
If I had lost this one, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah. This is very fun to judge, I have to say.
When we were writing this, we were literally trying to break into a computer, and then whatever we found. Yeah.
Yep.
That was in character.
Good.
I can't think of a single more appropriate episode for you to make your return on. This is so very you.
Yeah.
And we're glad you're back.
I wish
so glad.
Nobody else could have done that character justice.
No.
I wish the mastermind, though, was Barbie. I was really looking forward to that. And it wasn't. Which is also probably a good thing.
We'll get to Barbie eventually, Liz. Don't you worry.
Barbie!
Oh shit! For a second I was gonna try to do the Kit Thanks song, but in the relaxed tune, and I just couldn't make it work in my brain.
What's the Kit Thanks song?
Time for the Kit Thanks. When you want to get Kit Thanks.
That's adorable. Thank you.
Yeah.
You never hear it because I cut it out every time. And we'll continue to do so.
The Kit Thanks song is the best.
Yeah. Why do you do that, Miles?
Anytime I edit it, I will leave in the Kit Thanks song.
What part of I hate joy do you people not understand?
So I'll be like, time for the Kit Thanks. Is that
We'll
better?
have to leave that in, yeah.
Over to Twitter. Thank you to Mike Booch, Florian, Cosplay Fiend, Cosplay Devotee, Vandra Turner, Emlyn625, Jake the Fake Jake, James Gravestock, Radio J, At a Son of a Gun, Neil Butler, Sharon Schneiderman, Rafael Medina, Christine Robinson, and Paladin Today. On the tumbles, Mr. Man 334, Geek Haven, Sid Rabbit Blog, G Prime, Fat Blunt 69.
At 169.
Peace of Mind, Changing Shades, and Sandwich Surplus.
Sandwich surplus.
Yes. And on Facebook, thank you to Jeffrey Ketchum and Robert Ramsey.
And thanks also to Robert Erdl and Addison, who are our featured patrons this week because they donated at $1 or higher on Patreon and therefore got written in as absurd characters in our ever-expanding ridiculous storyline.
Finally, we got an email from Nick McNamara.
I think McNamara is probably the correct pronunciation.
I wanted to drop you guys a line letting you know that I blew through your entire catalog in less than a month. Wah!
That's amazing.
Too much.
Jesus, somebody. I think they're competing with each other now.
I think so,
I think our
man.
fans are trying to listen to all our shit. Like
It's not worth it. It's like staring into the eclipse.
Yeah.
Continuing on. He says, I loved every second of it, and I'm very sad that I don't have 100 more episodes to binge. You're all very amazing and have made me laugh out loud in public, listening on my earbuds, more times than I can count now.
That's the ultimate compliment.
I'm currently, and have been for the past month, living about 120 miles from home in a hospital room or hotel room, depending on the day, while my girlfriend is in the hospital dealing with some very scary medical things. I can't tell you what being able to listen to your joyful banter means to me, the stress that it helped diminish. I just wanted to say thank you and please never stop. Not planning on it. You're all amazing. Thank you for making the world a happier place 1 hour at a time. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick. We're cheering for you, buddy.
Yeah,
good
thanks,
luck.
man.
So much, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your kind words and, best of luck to you and your girlfriend with everything.
When he wrote in again, he said things are looking good on the medical front, and hopefully his girlfriend will be out of the hospital shortly.
That's good.
Yay.
Yeah. That was several days ago, so hopefully she's out. Hopefully you're feeling better, Nick. Hopefully you're all good.
Yeah. So we still have a big backlog of letters from our second anniversary episode that we didn't get to, and we forgot to do one last week, so I would like to do one now. This one comes into us from a fan Pressed Down to Orb,
Hey!
who says, who would win? Doom, space, or science?
Space.
I mean,
I said it
yes.
first.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
probably
Liz,
space.
you traitor. No, everyone knows the answer is Doom!
Miles, you know Liz's loyalties to space.
She introduced space.
She did.
Space encompasses everything. You
Yeah, she
only
introduced
exist
space-
because space exists.
Space is
I-
only one half of space and time, and Doom is the master of both, my friend.
I kind of feel like Doom has already conquered science, and it's probably just a matter of time before he conquers space, so I think I'm going with Doom on this one.
Doom is barely the master of his own fucking self-esteem.
Whenever you says the word doom, my brain just like reboots and it takes like
Doom!
Oh, see there. It's a sleep. It takes like an hour to like boot my brain back up and get back online, and so I can't even participate in this discussion.
Thanks for your question, and I hope you enjoy our extremely concise and definitive answer on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what happens when you don't have a set judge. We just talk at each other and
Yeah,
don't
that's
decide
why
on
we
anything.
assigned a judge.
This is how the format works.
The only reason we actually came up with that judge position is so somebody could be like, all right, look, it's time to shut up, you fucking...
And on that note, thank you so much for listening to this extra ridiculous episode
Yeah.
of Smash Fiction. Next week, we're going to be releasing the 20th episode of Extraordinary League.
Holy
And then the week after that, our next match will be possibly just as dumb and ridiculous, because our match after that is Don Draper versus Daria. Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Did you have any other thoughts on Miss Congeniality, Kit? Sorry to
fucking
It's
good.
a fucking wonderful movie,
It
and I
is.
was like reliving my childhood.
Yeah.
It really
For
is.
some reason, I saw that movie so many times when I was over at my dad's place. Like, it was always on cable, like, replaying. And I loved it, and I fucking thought, what's his face, her partner is so fucking gorgeous.
Oh my god, Benjamin Bratt, why?
Yeah. Little Kit was like, oh my gosh.
Well, as gorgeous as he may have been in that movie, his best role was clearly in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, where he's no longer gorgeous.
Where he plays a sorcerer who dedicates all of his magical skill to just playing basketball, which is the greatest thing.
I mean, that's kind of what I would do. I feel like those guys get paid a lot.
His codename should be Dunkter Strange.
Like, seriously, I'm pretty sure that guy gets paid more than, like, however much Doctor Strange was making as a world-renowned surgeon.
It's true. I haven't heard opening arguments like that since Jurassic Park. Anyway, Team Zoolander, An Advocate's Life.
What was that?
It's a Michael Caine quote from Miss Congeniality. Anyway,
Oh, that's okay.
You didn't even
Oh, we-
see the
that's-
movie, did you?
Because we did Jurassic Park on this show.
yeah, we sure did.
I get it now.
Well, good. The best jokes.